अब टेक्नोलॉजी में क्या चीज़ है, टेक्नोलॉजी में जो इक्विपमेंट हमने इस्तेमाल करना, अब हम उसके ज़रा डीपर इनटू दैट जाएं, प्रोसेस में होता क्या है.
Hi, I'm Angus. Welcome to the world of
3D. Shooting The Hobbit in 3D is a dream come true. I mean, if I had the ability to shoot Lord of the Rings in 3D, I certainly would have done it. What I actually did on the Lord of the Rings is I had a 3D camera taking 3D photographs. Hopefully, one day, maybe even on 3D Blu-ray, we might be able to actually show you some of the 3D photos from 10 or 12 years ago.
3D and I've got reading glasses, it's all good.
But now, the reality is that it's not that difficult to shoot in 3D. I love it when a film draws you in and you become part of the experience. And 3D helps immerse you in the film. But the essence of our camera system is a camera called the Red Epic.
Really, it's this thing that enables us to shoot 3D on The Hobbit.
But of course, to shoot 3D, you actually need two cameras.
The problem that we have in the cinema world is that the lenses that we use are so large that we cannot get an interocular similar to a human's, which is the separation between your eyes. For us to get the two cameras as close together as possible, they have to shoot into a mirror.
We have to use a mirror system, which is a rig that's designed by a company called Reality.
one's left eye, one's the right eye. One shoots through a mirror, the other one bounces off a mirror, and so the two images are perfectly overlaid. With using two eyes, we can move the cameras apart and also, more importantly, is find a convergence point. For example, see around someone's face, just like you're looking at a friend.
The convergence point is the screen plane. That's 3D forms two places. Positive space, which is inside the box, what you see behind the person who's standing on the screen, and negative space, which is what you feel comes out into the audience, an arm, a bullet, or whatever you want.
And the whole idea with these rigs is you can change the interocular and the convergence as we're shooting.
We can see that separation on a 2D screen with a left and a right eye overlay.
So we can do this live throughout a shot, changing our 3D effect the whole way through.
Roll sound.
We're watching the movie in 3D as we make it.
That looks so good. You almost feel like you're in it.
A lot of people have an image of 3D being big and cumbersome, and that's true, but we've got a lot of different rigs that we've built for different purposes. It's actually easier in this weird 3D world to have different camera systems for different uses. So this is a camera that we built to go on a crane that can move around and it never comes off the crane.
This is the TS5 in a handheld mode. It's our main workhorse camera. It's light, it's small, so it allows Peter to get into very tight, narrow corridors and caves as if he would with a 2D camera.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
You know, mobile camera work has always been very important for the films that I've made, and the last thing I wanted to do when we went to 3D was to restrict or change the shooting style.
So with the camera doing the help as well, you don't need me to do much.
It was very important for The Hobbit that we feel like the same filmmakers have gone back into Middle-earth to tell a new story.
We're shooting at the same speed as you'd shoot 2D. Dollies, cranes, Steadicam, we put it on the shoulder and we shoot handheld. The same as we would always shoot a movie.
Of course, once you've got 3 or 4 cameras for main unit, you need 3 or 4 cameras for second unit, which is 8 cameras, which is really 16 cameras. This is the world of the Hobbit camera department.
We have 48 Red Epic cameras, and they're on 17 3D rigs.
This one's called Walter, which was my grandfather. This one's Ronald, my uncle. Emily was Fran's grandmother. Perkins was actually Fran's dog. Witchy Poo, Frank, Bill is my dad. Fergus is the name of one of our pugs. Tricky Woo, that's the name of Pekingese. Stan is another one of our pugs. There's cameras called John and Paul, George and Ringo, who are not relations of mine. Are we having fun?
Yay! We're not shooting film, we shoot digitally. We shoot onto these cards, which slot in the side of the camera. And each one of these is 128 gig. On top of that, you're shooting at 5K resolution.
A very sharp, clear image.
Needs like a chart, but you know, like 5K's there, 4K's about there, and then your 1080 home TV is down here, so it gives you sort of an idea of the amount of information that we're actually capturing on these.
Let's do another one of those.
48 frames, yes.
Yep.
We're shooting The Hobbit at a higher frame rate at 48 frames per second, which is twice the normal 24 frames.
The human eye sees 60 frames a second, so 48 frames is more of a natural progression toward giving the viewer what they would actually see in the real world.
The people who have seen scenes of The Hobbit at 48 frames a second often say that it's like the back of the cinema has had a hole cut out of it where the screen is, and you're actually looking into the real world. Once you add stereo, and it gives you that extra ability to control depth, you can devise ways in which it can become part of the storytelling of a film. For instance, in Mirkwood, we really play on the fact that it's a forest that's kind of hallucinogenic almost. It draws you in, it makes you part of it, and you may never get out. What we want is just to stay where you are and then... Stay back! Stay where you are!
Mirkwood is a big forest, and it's full of vines and sinister-looking trees, I suppose you'd say. It has a lot of things hanging down, a lot of things coming from all sorts of angles, and it helps us with the 3D to be able to push into that and try and get the audience to feel that they're actually trying to move into the forest with the cameras and give it that dark and look over your shoulder feeling.
Colour-wise, with the red camera, tends to eat colour a little, and so we add more colour.
If you look at the ungraded footage, the trees look incredibly psychedelic. They look like they were painted in 1967.
We wouldn't normally be quite as bold as this, even in Mirkwood, which is an enchanted forest, so it's like we oversaturate. Look!
In the movie, they won't look anything like that. They'll be graded down and you'll just get the barest hint of colour in the finished film.